What up, party people? It's your boy, the Curious Cantaloupe, MC Popsicle, and welcome to the very first episode of Weird Noises. It's a new podcast that I'm doing. This episode is actually a continuation of a video that I did where I interviewed Bill Johnson, the actual Leatherface. This is part 2, so if you want to see part 1, go to my Facebook page, MC Popsicle's World. I'm very excited about the podcast. Thank you for joining us, and we're going to get started right now. That leads directly into the next and last question I have. What have you been up to lately?
Thank you for your question. In a world where starship technology is dreamt of, the question remains, how would you recognize it if you saw it, eh?
That is the best intro I've ever heard for anything. A plus.
Thank you. So, how would you, let me switch roles for a second and take us from how would you know it? Let's say you already knew it. How would you show someone else, someone like you might have been before?
Mm-hmm.
So Jean-Luc Picard and the Star Trek gang go to a planet and they see that the development is similar to theirs, both in species and the planetary development is such in the solar system they're in that they notice similar kinds of patterns are repeating with the climate and with the geophysical and geomagnetic levels of the planet. And that because the cosmos are like a giant clockwork, that with the right computer and programming, you can chart where those pieces of the clock are going to be at any given calendar date from where you're measuring from. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So Picard and gang projected that this planet would be in trouble because it would be in a state of magnetic recession. It's the strength of its magnetic field would be decreased, which is normal for it to do that for a time, and then it regains its strength, but it's a long time in terms of human lifespans.
What would that cause? What happens if that happens?
Too many pronouns. What happens if what happens?
Oh, sorry. What happens if the magnetic field recedes? What would that cause to happen?
Oh, okay. So the magnetic field, part of its job is to protect its own self, its magnetic field, from being messed with by the supercharged particles from the sun. The protons come in and they're attracted to the electrons. It's an opposite charge and they just want to be kissing cousins, and they yippee, and they spiral down around the magnetic lines down to as deep as they can get. And these magnetic lines go through the mantle of the planet. All the rock and all the stuff down there, all that thing of those water, minerals, etc.
Right.
And these trillions of spiraling hot protons gathering together and spiraling in toward the center gather their heat, and they start to heat up the water in the rock.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 1 ounce of water in volume and you turn it into steam, The volume of steam you will have is about 17,000 ounces of vapor.
Wow.
And it pushes hard. It pushes real hard. And seismic problem, meaning volcanoes. China, I just looking today at the internet that China's dormant volcano for 50,000 years looks like it's fixing to recharge and let fly. And it looks like it could be a bad one, perhaps as bad as the caldera in Yellowstone here in America.
Oh, no.
Yeah, that's a huge, that one would wipe out pretty much this, the North American continent.
Good Lord.
Yeah, it would affect most of it and some of Canada, maybe into Central America. The Eastern Seaboard might be okay. It depends on how big it is. So at any rate, we want to slow them things down. How can we stop that? So Picard and company say, look, we've got the technology. We know what it needs. What are the things that happens with a magnetic field on a planet like ours is that it's spinning. It's a spinning spherical magnetic field. Now, as I understand it, and I certainly want to be corrected because I'm not an expert, I'm an actor, but in studying this, I've run into a few facts, and I always look for corrections, that the poles, north-south pole, will spin in opposite directions on a spherically spinning field, magnetic field. And this differential, go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say, I'm going to have to go with you about that because I don't know either.
Yeah, take this as true, until further notice. And this differential in spin causes a magnetic sheet to emit from it in all directions in a globe, in a sphere. And this magnetic sheet waves like ocean waves. And it keeps going out to the end of its magnetosphere boundary. And that boundary bumps right up against the sun's radiating field. And what happens then, because the sun has more highly charged energy particles that will invade, this wavering magnetic sheet starts to pile up against that incoming invading torrent of protons and highly charged particles, and it's the layers bunch up and magnetic bubbles, as reported by NASA, form in these folds, and they form such a number of them that it gets foamy. So it's a lot of magnetic foam that acts like a sunscreen, a sunblock. It slows down and traps those protons. So what comes out on the other side is manageable for our magnetosphere.
I didn't know that.
Not many do. Not many do. I didn't know this until recently. And I don't know how many others knew this until recently as well, because this is really kind of a lot of what you would call new research.
Right.
So Picard says, well, what they need is some help there, because their Tesla strength of their magnetosphere will be down and will not be producing enough of the foam they need. Let's put down a foam machine for them. Let's make one. So they make a foam machine. And it's made to be automatic and run on natural resources of the planet. And as long as those natural resources stay in place, this machinery will continue to automatically run.
Oh, that's
Yeah, that's cool. And then one of the members say, Scotty says, or whoever the engineer, but when these people are ready to understand the machinery, sir, the resources will be gone. What are we going to do? Excuse me, sorry. Picard responds, well, let's make it easy for them to figure it out. So, if you're Picard and your crew, how would you go about making a machine to do some work that it did do, stop doing, can do again if the resources are added? How would you, generally speaking, make available to the future humanity, what clues would you offer for them to understand this?
It seems like it would have to be something. The only thing I can think of is make it adhere very clearly to as many basic scientific laws as possible. And then you could just follow the breadcrumbs, I guess.
Yeah. What do they already know? What should they already know? If they know anything about the physics, the reality of physics, like numbers and geometry, that sort of thing, then we can lead them by what they already know into what we know and what they want to know.
Right.
Does that seem like a reasonable thing that a reasonably intelligent, logical crew would do for someone?
Does to me.
Yeah. Well, that's what we have at the Pyramids of Giza. We have that.
And what do you think that they're doing? Like, or what?
Yeah. They make foam. That one of the things they do is make magnetic foam.
And does that protect us, or does it?
Yeah, protects us. Now this is, I can show that it's an MHD installation. That's not going to be a problem. The end result, I think, is magnetic foam that gets produced and distributed down and up. That's the big picture that I've got so far. And that it works with the other two pyramids there. And I think it works with the other pyramids that are on the planet. That they'll probably be in some kind of energetic network that allows some protection from the incoming. Might get, it might be just a certain portion of the planet that may be allowed. I don't know. But I do know one thing, that these are not just stone buildings. They're machines, MHD, magnetohydrodynamic networking machines. They use salt water, a combination of salt water and particulates, piezoelectric particulates. Could be dolomite, might be something else. It might be Rochelle salts, but most likely dolomite, since dolomite is found interior to Khufu. And so that's the main boiler, is that place.
So it would be like a secondary atmosphere almost, or something like that?
I see what you're saying. The foam. The foam would be carried up to the magnetosphere in the in the outer layer, which is called the ionosphere. The ionosphere is like thunderstorms going on up there a lot.
Mm-hmm.
a lot of electrical activity, and it's come from because the sun is the one that promotes the electricity, the magnetism and the electricity. So the foam starts to be pushed up, and it pushes it, so it's like an atmosphere made of magnetic foam. I don't think it's breathable. It's outside of any kind of earth atmosphere that would be breathable.
Right.
But it's there.
But it's like the canopy that kind of protects us.
Yes, the canopy, exactly. The sun does the same thing with the galaxy's energy. The galaxy has really filthy, dirty wavelength energy coming in at it that's super hot from all the explosions and, crazy black hole energies going on. And the sun puts out some of its own foam against the galaxy invading it. Seems like an invasion. I just want to absorb you and become bigger and better. That's all.
You're good at that.
So I'm thinking. Back to so I'm only talking science. I only dealt with science. I'm not inventing anything. I'm reverse engineering. And people who can afford it, and I'm thinking Elon Musk would probably like this, because he could probably, I would think, get to Mars 50% faster than he knows already, because Starship level technology built the pyramids, at least Starship level, interstellar, from one star to another. And that's what Elon wants. Getting to Mars was sort of a placeholder. The only thing that really kind of matters is being able to get from one star system to a next.
Right.
And,
yeah, you need to with him. He's your guy. He seems like a creative and guy that is willing to try new things. So
he is. He's able to do it where others, in a way, others cannot, because he has the command of enough funds and enough resources for one. He doesn't need a committee, pretty much. To go, I want to do this. He just does it. We need that kind of speed. The biggest gift from, I'm going to call them star friends who built the stuff, is that we're going to need international cooperation to get this going. There's just no other way around it. Because even if we can fix up the planet and stop it from exploding in lava and bad weather, we're still going to have to get along somehow and not kill each other. And international cooperation could go a long way toward that, is my thinking. And why not?
Nice. Yeah, to not kill each other. That'd be good.
Yeah, I mean, there are, and how do we do it? Perhaps, rename Giza the Mountain of Love, and start, because the reason it's, I think, there is that it's over a big, see, the Giza Plateau is 60 feet above the crust of the planet on the surface over there in Egypt, at that area, and it's all made out of piezoelectric material that will allow vibration and electrical impulses to be sent from the entirety of the 1,600 square miles of it down to the center of the planet. And because it's over the African, they call it the African blob, but it's like a geographic stone connection, like an extension cord from pretty near the surface of the planet at North Africa.
Like a reservoir, kind of.
Yeah, it's just like a big old stone extension cord connecting with the center of the Earth, which is an electromagnet. And on the other side of it, directly across from the African blob, is the Pacific blob, which doesn't extend up as far, certainly, but it's part of the global electrical circuit. Right now, the Giza Plateau and all the edifices upon it are placed within the global electrical circuit. Once that apparatus is activated, it will tie in, electrically speaking, to the global electrical circuit and probably act like some sort of a intravenous, putting plasma up into the patient's skin from sunburn. It's very similar to getting really bad sunburn, and get some plasma up there in the form of magnetic foam and buy us some time to get along, cooperate. Now, if I'm not mistaken, who Star Friends put this together, if it indeed is Starship level technology, which I believe it is, then my guess is how they put that edifice together, how they move objects through space-time. I think that's available. That knowledge is available. And that's the kind of object you want to be able to move from star to star.
Yeah. Like, what's that movie? With the big portal, Stargate. Like a Stargate or something?
I don't know. My thought is, since this structure of Giza is electromagnetic, I'm thinking they're masters of the electromagnetic spectrum, and that they have found a way to manipulate magnetic fields and electrical fields together, such that they can harness, let's say, the magnetic fields of the planet and create within it an avenue, an electromagnetic avenue that they can travel down, using the rest of the magnetic fields available to support it. Something like that might be considered like it's called a self-inducting loop or a solenoid. You know what solenoids are, sort of a loop of wire, electric wire, and it will move a steel bolt along the direction of the current.
What that is, that's interesting.
And the center of the Giza pyramid has a giant solenoid conduit. The pyramid is wrapped with a stone wire, in a sense. It looks like a ramp, a big ramp, but it's built and has the de facto purpose of, or can be, as a like a wire that runs electricity up through it. And when that happens, a magnetic field, like if you had a donut and you pulled it real tall, so you had a tall donut in a tall donut hole,
right?
And you put rings around through the hole, like you put you broke the donut open and you put about 10 rings, and you hook the donut back together, and you space the rings out, and those rings would be the lines of magnetic force.
Okay.
And they go down through the center of the donut in parallel lines. And that right there is your gun, an electron gun, a linear accelerator. That's what it's being used as. Yeah, linear accelerator. There are a couple of them in the pyramid. There's one in the Grand Gallery. I want to, if I can take the time to explain this, because I may not have a time to do a video of it, but I at least want to tell it. In the Grand Gallery, which is a room shaped like a giant rectangle that is in the shape of a parallelogram. There's a north wall, the south wall, and it goes uphill south. And I'm trying to get my camera here. Yeah. So wall, and so there's a steam vent from downstairs that pushes up against the north wall, and then along the top of the ceiling. It hits the south wall and condenses and runs down the south wall and runs down the floor and goes north and runs back to the reservoir of water that's down in the subterranean chamber. All of the liquid that is formed in the pyramid is electrically conductive. Not only electrically conductive, but with piezoelectric particulates in it, it becomes supercharged and creates a tremendous amount of electricity. So this isn't so much like a dynamo that spools out sustained, clean, steady, usable one wavelength of electricity for end users, but it's more like thunderstorms inside the pyramid.
Wow.
Yeah, the steam, because the steam essentially is a cloud, right? It's a hot cloud.
Right.
Part of the steam, go ahead.
So it's like basically the pyramid's like a battery that's making its own electricity, or getting it from underneath the earth.
No, it's getting it from the piezoelectric particulates. When you see a piezoelectric crystal has a structure of electrons that are in pairs, except one. And one side of the crystal is positive, the other is negative. And it has one dangling electron. Now, if that piezo crystal has its surface shifted as little as 10%, that crystal will emit an electric field and will emit alternating current. The current, it squeezes out that electron, and the charge jumps from one side to the other until all the material crystal is gone, or the mechanical pressure to change the crystal shape is gone. And that's the way that works. Piezo crystals, when applied with pressure, any kind of mechanical pressure, that could be sound, it could be, steam pressure, it might, some heat, will produce an electrical current. If you keep squeezing it long and hard enough, it'll just send out that voltage. However, if you hook electricity up to it, it'll vibrate and create ultrasound. And it has 3 distinct different motions that it makes, which are being harnessed today in tools such as electric toothbrushes, step motors, lots of things, lots and lots of things. So how do we get the steam? How do we get the steam? I'll tell you how it's steam. Bernoulli cavitation. Bernoulli was a dude who discovered all these cool laws about fluid mechanics, hydraulic mechanics, engineering, and that if you've got like fluid, like water shooting down a tube, and then it goes into a smaller tube, that water's flow rate will increase. It'll go faster. But the pressure that keeps the vapor into water decreases, so that its pressure allows the vapor to create bubbles. And those are bubbles of vapor made of highly charged, electrically conductive, and electrically explosive creating materials that are going to receive a tremendous amount of mechanical energy. Because when that fluid that's creating the large bubbles gets to a larger space, there is a larger air pressure, and that bubble now, instead of going this way, goes with at least several tons per square inch, probably more. I've read tens of tons per square inch.
Like a mini Big Bang kind of or something?
Well, it's the same kind of deal in a nuclear weapons have a core, two hemispheres of plutonium inside a chamber, and either side of the plutonium is an explosive that's set to smash them together in an implosion, and that implosion is tremendously strong and creates the fission. In the cavitation in Khufu, the cavitation squeezing the bubbles creates a tremendous amount of electricity, which sends out a lot, which then stimulates a bunch of ultrasound from other piezo particulates, which creates more electricity, and it's just a sort of a vicious circle.
Right.
And so if it's like you had ever notice ever go to the movie theater and they're making popcorn for you at the concession stand, and the popper just starts, and it starts slow and it pops faster and faster and faster. It's kind of like that, but there's no stopping it. It just keeps on going until the pressure has to be released.
Right.
So that's why the well passage is a steam valve to travel the steam upstairs, and I think some of the openings on the northeast shoulder of the pyramid itself of Khufu, because it's been shown that people could get from the interior of the pyramid out to the exterior through one of those northeast shoulder openings. I'm thinking that's a pressure release valve for the system. And you need stuff that heavy to be able to withstand the kind of pressures that are being used. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just saying that's incredible. I was wondering if we could possibly get back with you, because I want to dedicate a video to this, and whenever you have time. And I would like to with you, and we can do a full video on this, if that's okay.
Well, last words before we leave, in case the world ends. So, one of the things science has told us from this pyramid setup at Khufu is that you can use salt water with piezoelectric particulates and create steam, and create a steam-driven pressurized system that you can use the steam to drive equipment like dynamos, so you can get away from fossil fuels. Also, this steam will allow you to turn salt water, either another vessel full of just salt water, into steam, and then use it to distill potable drinking water.
Wow.
And this will be cost effective. Right now it's cost effective drinking water from salt water using fossil fuels just can't be done. You could have these little pumps set up all along the seacoast, doing large volumes of drinking water for irrigation, pressure for pumping water inland for irrigation, less dependence on fossil fuels, and perhaps better climate because we won't be burning it. And there must be, I can't imagine there isn't more. I've just been able to see a little bit, and I'm an actor. I think I would say a civil engineer, geotechnical civil engineer especially, because they work on planetary sized projects. Like the Giza Plateau is, I would say, a geotechnical engineering project. It's planetary sized, yes.
Wow. Yeah, well, that sounds like it would definitely fix many, many, many of the problems that the world faces. So that would be very vital.
I think if we did a computer simulation, we don't have to go to the pyramids to learn them a whole lot about them because there's already a lot. Scan Pyramids have taken a lot of data and did a laser scan of all the pyramids. Oh, you hook that up into, Elon Musk's supercomputer system, don't you know? Yeah, they'll find out a few things, and hopefully, if hopefully, hope is not a process. Um, I just have faith in the resilience of human carry.
Me too. We've made it this far.
Yeah, others have said that and been unfortunately shortly cut off. I think we can, yeah, of course, that ain't us so far. So let's see what we can do about this. I think we can do something good. I agree. We need to get off planet when we need to be able to protect ourselves from the horrors of the galaxy. In terms of the bad things that could kill us. And we can't be the first interstellar race, but so what? The thing that really counts is what's there on the plateau. What can we do with it? That's the only focus right now, I think. So let's talk about it more, please. And
please, I would love that, and I'm so thankful that you could do this with me. Like, I look up to you a lot, and it's been very, very interesting to talk to you, and I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I also have a great appreciation being able to communicate with you and to the world in general. Please publish this. I can go to my grave knowing that it got out to the world. I could, because I will feel much better when somebody who can do something about this knows, and then it'll be up to them,
Yeah.
My job is to get it out there.
Well, you did a good job, and it was very interesting, and it was a pleasure speaking with you today.
Thanks, Josh. Same here. We'll talk to you in the near future.
Yes, sir. Have a good day. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy.
Alright guys, that's about it. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Bill Johnson. That was absolutely amazing to talk to you. Also, I want to shout out to some of my sponsors. Shout out to my people at Righteous Felon. They make absolutely amazing beef jerky. Follow them at Righteous Felon on Instagram. Also, check out Get On Board Man, also on Instagram. They make amazing wearable art, shirts, socks, all kinds of stuff at Ducky Boardman Paints. Also, the Toy Stash carries all these amazing vintage toys from like the 80s and 90s, so you can get an actual toy that you had when you were little, brand new, still in the box. Follow them on Instagram at _toy_stash on Instagram. Also, while we're talking about vintage stuff, hit up at The Old Hat Shop on Instagram. They carry all these really cool vintage hats from like the 80s and 90s, and they're all like brand new, but they're from back then. So make sure to follow them, hit them up, and you can buy stuff from like way back in the day. Also on Instagram, make sure to follow Designs by Galarza. They make all my custom MC popsicle hats, so make sure to follow them at Designs by Galarza. And as far as shoes go, make sure to follow Soulsphing on Instagram. They make amazing future sneakers. They sent me some. I absolutely love them. And last but not least, don't forget Filthy Shades. They make the best sunglasses in the world. Follow them on Instagram at The Filthy Shades. I love you guys so much. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good day.